Well, I think I sensed that my feet were getting itchy and I might want to get back in as a superintendent of schools. And Dick and I probably talked it over, that, doesn't seem to be a pattern around here that when a principal leaves, his assistant principal gets moved up to be principal of the school. And I wasn't particularly trying to arrange for Dick to be my successor, but I could understand his interest in it if I left. And I don't know if that chit-chat between us had anything to do with it, but Dick got the opportunity to transfer to the high school as an assistant principal up there, and he took it. Well, one Friday, I think, seems to me like it was at the end of a week, I got a call from Dr. Romine's office saying that they had a candidate interested in being the replacement for Dick Frost as assistant principal at Evergreen Junior High School. And this doesn't quite sound the way Dr. Romine operated, and yet he did have, I started to say he had respect for me, but I don't necessarily think that's any truer than with anybody else. But at any rate, the call seemed to indicate that we'd like for you to meet him and give us your impression. So they gave me a telephone number. I suppose he was staying probably at that time in a motel. Gave him a ring, and he was down in Denver, and I didn't mind at all going down, and we talked about where to meet. He said he'd already been up and looked over the Evergreen community. So in his area there was looking for places that we both would be sure where we were going, knew where McDonald's was, and agreed to meet there. So met there and set out in the car and visited. I liked him. Liked him just on general appearance to start with, and then I liked his attitude. Obviously, a bright and determined, well-prepared gentleman. So we talked and talked and talked. And I never had a doubt in my mind that he would do a good job. And since the school district, and he got the job, I made my call and said, hey, looks good to me. So they made the move. School started, and we were in Jefferson County really getting into this thing of individualized instruction, of the principal being an instructional leader and so on. And I'd been working on trying to become more of an instructional leader and less a counselor and less a disciplinarian. And so arranged it that the school started that last year I was there. The office that I had sat in for 4 years was the office that Mr. Finch would sit in, and he would handle the main calls and so on that came in, and he would handle the discipline. And I'd work more with the teachers as an instructional leader. It's challenging, and it was a change. It wasn't easy for me. When you've been on the front line in the other sense for so long, it's hard to realize that they're probably absolutely right, that the more important thing is instructional leadership. But I have to admit to you that over the years I doubt that a little. If you don't get the other part in line where the kids will study and where the problem kids are dealt with, I don't think the instructional leadership can function effectively. In other words, I'm pretty disgusted at times in some of the schools I sub in when they don't take care of the day-to-day thing of being sure students know why they're there and pay proper respect and so on. Most of them do very, very well. Incidentally, Alice Frost still had a student in our school, and she let me know one day, hey, I don't like it that I call up there and want to talk to somebody, and you're off in a classroom somewhere, and I'm talking to somebody else. I'm used to getting you when I call up there. Backhanded compliment, kind of like that. Well, the school year was going very well, But one time at the back-to-school night to go over grades, I like that system. Picked it up there in Jefferson County, or maybe at a doctoral course, I don't know. But that idea of having teachers and students, or teachers and parents, face-to-face discussing the student's grade, and then how's my boy really doing, how's my girl doing, some direct exchange. I think it's very, very good, very, very important, and very helpful to having a good school program. Well, you remember I'd mentioned a family that their kids got in trouble on the buses from Indian Hills. Well, I happened to go by and see that lady and Mr. Finch getting with it a little. The lady was not happy at all, and Lew was being very firm, and I probably tried to intervene there a little at the time. And at any rate, after she had left, I got a hold of Lew and I said, now listen, tell me exactly why you think this is important. He said, because we're right and we would win it if we have to go to the Supreme Court. I said, Lew, you didn't quite catch, I guess, what I was saying in there when I tried to ease that situation. You don't know that mother, and you don't know that family, and I do, and it isn't worth it to get into it with her. She will not yield an inch. And we might win all right at the Supreme Court, but we would lose, she would lose, the school would lose, and it's a no-win situation. Got to leave it alone. Oh, he was angry. You know, he felt, dadgummit, you put me in this role, now you're not backing me. I could understand exactly why he was upset. Boy, went home that night feeling a little uneasy. The next day, I don't think we spoke. I think I avoided him, thinking if he's still that angry, it's wise to not confront him. But then the next day, I don't remember if we can intervene in between or not, but the next school day, I just said, hey, we're going to get this settled. So I asked him to come over, and I started to say, now, Lew, let's talk some more about that. And he said, there's nothing to talk about. You were right, and I was wrong. And I had told him as part of that other conversation that the reason you wouldn't win at the Supreme Court is we'd lose because I am the principal, and I don't agree with you. There's no way you could win. Well, after he cooled off, he put a stop to any further conversation by saying, I was wrong, I apologize, you were right, let's don't talk any more about it, and we never did, and his stock with me was already high, but it got a lot higher, and that's how he ended up being a man I could trust to recommend to the school board Sheridan, Wyoming, and take him up there as an assistant superintendent. He did a good job for me for a year. It was a politically loaded situation, and there were a lot of people trying to attack him, thinking it was easier to attack my man than to attack me directly. And I think I kind of encouraged him. He went with the State Department the next year, and from there got his doctorate, and the rest is history. Lew Finch is a great superintendent, came back as a great superintendent in Jefferson County, Colorado, and ended his career after a career in Minnesota first, and then ended his career at Cedar Rapids, Iowa.